Yo, what's up guys? Yeah, pokeaim here. Today we have another Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl Moveset video guide on how to use Skarmory and BLISSEY, otherwise known as Skarm Bliss. Now a lot of people have been asking me to do more defensive sets for certain Pokemon, so I figured I'd send the two most known Pokemon for defensive capabilities. I feel like that's Skarm Bliss is a very common term, and it's been used since Gen 2. So and then more in Gen 3 and then more in Gen 4. Like, they're good Pokemon together, right? So if you guys do enjoy these moveset video guys, first off, if there are other Pokemon you want to see, let me know. Leave them down below in the comment section. Also check the playlist, because there's a playlist of every single mon I've done so far, and I'm covering a bunch of them, and sometimes I'm doing multiple of them. Somebody asked me the other day if I could cover Rose Raid. I did that like 12 days ago. And also, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. On my way to 300k, that is my end of next year goal. I upload so much Pokemon content. I got a Wi-Fi battle coming out later today. I got a Showdown Live coming out later today as well. But yeah, let's get right into the video. And I really like Skarmory. Now, a lot of people don't know this about me, but back when I started the channel in Gen 4, though I didn't do it as much on YouTube, I was actually a stall/semi-stall player, mainly. Like, I played offense, but I really like stall/semi-stall. Though semi-stall doesn't really exist anymore. It's more so called balanced. But I really like Skarm a lot. Skarm was one of my favorite Pokemon to use on teams, that and Suicune. And yeah, so Skarm is the premier physical wall. It is the steel and flying type. All steel flying types are so good, man. And I love that they do things differently. Shout out to Skarm, shout out to Celesteela, shout out to Corviknight. But Skarmory is really good in this metagame because there is no knockoff. And the reason that's good is because it can take advantage of Shed Shell. Not that there's no knockoff, but like Pokemon that would normally have knockoff, like Scizor or Weavile, don't have knockoff, right? There's still Gliscor with knockoff, there's still Crawdon with knockoff, and a handful of other Pokemon. But because of that, you can run Shed Shell, which means that Magnet Pull, Magnezone cannot trap you, which means you can do your thing as a Skarmory, which is usually setting up Spikes or Stealth Rock. You can slash Stealth Rock next to Spikes if you really want to. I prefer Spikes with Skarmory. I think there's a lot of other mons that can do Stealth Rock, but there's very few mons that can get up Spikes as reliably as Skarmory. I think that max defense, max HP with an impish nature for special defense is probably the best way to run it. I do say that if you want to try a special defensive Skarm, you just do the same thing, max HP, max special defense. I didn't write a set specifically for it because I haven't tested special defensive Skarm as much in this metagame since Specs Latios is around, and when I used to use special defensive Skarm back in the day, Latios was not around, right? That's a really strong special mon, and I think it was better before when it used to resist Shadow Ball from Gengar, but now that Steel type no longer resists Ghost, I don't think Spadef Skarm is as good, personally, and plus Latios has Thunderbolt anyway. But yeah, so the set is Spikes plus Roost. I think Spikes and Roost are always going to be a given. Any form of hazards plus Roost. You want the Roost for longevity. Your ability is always going to be sturdy on defensive Skarmories simply because it's a Focus Sash, right? It is a Focus Sash. If you're at full HP and a Heatran goes for Specs Overheat, modest Specs Overheat, max special attack investment, let's just make it in the sun. Let's make it as strong as it will. Skarmory will always survive on 1 HP because of that sturdy, allowing you to get up a Spike or Defog or whatever you want to do. Now, your next moves are either Brave Bird or Taunt. Brave Bird gives you some offensive pressure, good for Gengar, you 2-hit KO that, good for, you know, keeping Starmie at check, good for hitting things like Latios, Scizor as well, knocking out Infernape if it tries to switch in on you with Stealth Rock or Spikes up. And then you have Taunt. Taunt is pretty cool too because you can stop the defog from Scizor. You are naturally faster than Scizor, so you can taunt and stop that. You can stop Pokemon like Clefable from healing or Wish Passing. You can stop BLISSEY from Thunder Waving and doing whatever it wants to do, and you can get up Spikes. And then your last move is either Whirlwind or Defog. Whirlwind allows you to get rid of the opponent in front of you, phase them out. This Skarmory can deal with a +1 Dragonite, a Swords Dance Garchomp, right? And you know, plus those Pokemon are threats, so you want to phase them out. Dragon Dance Gyarados, so you phase them out with Whirlwind, which means to get them out of there. Or you have Defog. Defog can be more so on stallier teams where you use Skarm as a means to get rid of opposing hazards. Like you set up hazard with Skarm, but it's also more of your hazard control as well because there are no heavy duty boots, so hazard control is very important. If you don't want to run Shed Shell, you can run Leftovers as well for longevity. I like Shed Shell though because Magnezone is really good, especially because Scizor is the #1 most used Pokemon. Also, I do have some merch available if you guys want to check it out. A couple more days. And I guess a question, now that we're like 4 minutes in and some people have dropped off, some people are still listening, that's cool. What did you do for your holidays if you celebrated Christmas? What did you do? Let me know down below. I would like to know if that's okay. Next up, we have Skarmory with Swords Dance as an option. Now, why the hell would you run Swords Dance on Skarmory? Now, this was something that people ran a lot before, and it's actually still pretty good right now, in my opinion. I'm still using Sturdy. I don't think that weak armor is that great on Skarm at the moment. I don't like the... I mean, the speed boost is pretty cool, but I don't really like that too much, personally. But the reason you run Swords Dance with Spikes is because you want to be able to overwhelm Defog Scizor. So by boosting at +2, +4, you're able to 2-hit KO Scizor, meaning that it cannot do its job of defogging away your hazards for free and then roosting off your Brave Birds. This also allows you to beat Swords Dance Gliscor, non-taunt Gliscor variants as well, which could otherwise just sit and defog on you and stall out your Brave Birds if they really want to. So it gives Skarmory a means of dealing with Pokemon that otherwise not necessarily beat it, but can get rid of all the hard work that you put in with your Skarm, right? So Shut Shower leftovers usually as well, and Spikes, Brave Bird, Roost, and Swords Dance. I have seen people run Night Slash over Spikes as well. Unfortunately, Skarm does not have Body Press at the moment. Hopefully, when Pokemon Home comes out, it gets it again, because then you'll see like an Iron Defense Body Press Skarm up here too. Toxic as well as an option when it eventually gets that again too, if Home does work the way that we are hoping it works. But yeah, this is just a more defensive offensive way of using Skarm. Instead of just using it as a physical wall, you are switching over to more of a tank, a Pokemon that can not only tank hits but dish out some damage after it's boosted quite a bit. And the last set we have is Lead Skarmory. Now Lead Skarmory functions as exactly what I said. It's a lead. You run Jolly, max speed, max attack. The reason you're Jolly is because you want to speed type with Jolly Breloom or outspeed Adamant Breloom. This is cool for modest Heatrans to be faster than. You can taunt them if you're daring. This is great for most defensive Pokemon. You're also faster than Crawdon, which you get 2-hit KO with Brave Bird if it starts switching on you. You run a Custap Berry because this Skarmory's main goal is to just set up hazards, right? Use it as a lead. So you set up your Stealth Rock, you set up your Spikes, something knocks you down into Sturdy. Let's say it's Starmie. Let's say you have led off versus a Starmie, your Skarmory. You go for Stealth Rock as they go for Thunderbolt. They're obviously going to hit you first. They bring you down to your built-in Focus Sash, aka Sturdy. And I do want to note that anytime that you get back up to full HP, you are always going to get your Sturdy. It's not like Focus Sash, it only works once, and once it props, it's done. But anytime you get back up to full HP, so that's cool for the defensive sets. But yeah, so you get to your Sturdy, and now because of your Custap Berry, you actually will be able to move before Starmie, and you can go for Brave Bird to KO yourself while doing a lot of damage to Starmie, stopping them from being able to Rapid Spin on you. That's kind of like why Skarm does this. Brave Bird to knock itself out with the recoil when it gets down to Sturdy, that way it stops Donphan from spinning. You also have Taunt to prevent opposing hazards as well, and Setup from you. I like this Skarmory a lot, especially on more offensive builds. Things like Gengar are a fantastic partner, specifically Scarf Gengar in my opinion, because it basically is the check to Starmie, which is something that can easily spin on Skarmory, but it also just naturally stops Rapid Spin as well, though it can lose to all the Rapid Spinners anyway, like Starmie and Donphan can beat it. But Scarf Gengar gives you a means of outspeeding Starmie and then knocking it out with Shadow Ball, also good for outspeeding Alakazam as well as Latios. So this one will function more on offensive builds, whereas the defensive Skarmory will function more on those defensive builds with Blissies, with Gliscors, with Quagsires, with Tangrowths, maybe stall builds like that. Those are the ones that are usually going to function that way. And you want to take Puka? Go ahead and take Puka. Go Puka. Go Mom. Sorry, my dog was lying on me. She usually sleeps on me when I record. But yeah, that's basically Skarmory for you. Again, this is a more offensive one. You want to pair this maybe with like Dragon Dance Dragonite, maybe Dragon Dance Gyarados, Swords Dance Garchomp, Swords Dance offensive Scizor. Just a bunch of offensive Pokemon, maybe even a Scarfer, even Scarf Ditto can work pretty cool too for opposing setup that can scare you. But just using Skarmory as a means of getting up hazards and just dying as an anti-lead. Next up we have Blissey. Now, that last move can really be anything. I know I put a lot of stuff up there, and I didn't even like, that's not even all the options that Blissey has for that. So, Blissey, one of the banes of any special attacker, the most annoying Pokemon to all special attackers, right? Probably the best counter to Latios, and it's currently a counter because Latios doesn't have Trick to cripple it with a Choice Specs or Choice Scarf, and it doesn't have Psyshock to hit it on the physically defensive side. So Blissey is definitely one of the best special walls in the game. Now, why would you run max HP, max defense on a special wall? The main reason being is Blissey only has 10 base defense, really low, but when you run max HP, max defense, you maximize that defense, and this actually makes a difference from taking 50% from an uninvested U-turn from defensive Scizor to like 20-something%, right? So it just allows you to take those hits a lot better from weaker Pokemon. And for the most part, you're easily taking a Spec Draco Meteor after Stealth Rock and Spikes. Like, it only does 40% to you. So after it only will do about 40%, then they get -2. You're taking nothing from Spec Psychic from Latios. This is a good Alakazam check as long as it doesn't have Psyshock, but even with Psyshock, it does not knock you out at +2 because you are max HP, max defense. You could easily run Calm Nature if you really want to, but I think Bold is just best. Just getting that defense up, getting that HP up to take those physical hits so much better. And because Chansey no longer has access to a Violite, that is not a Pokemon that's being ran in OU. When it did have a Violite, it'd be ran in OU. But even then, Blissey was actually better in the previous generation than Chansey due to heavy-duty boots, but there are no heavy-duty boots in the game. Just giving you some lore behind it. The prime item you're going to be running on Blissey is almost always going to be leftovers, right? Now, I do have a Chople Berry there. I'm not going to go over the full thing yet, but the main reason Chople Berry is there is if you're running counter. I think that's the only time that Chople Berry is viable on Blissey is if you're running counter specifically. But that's it. Otherwise, you're going to be running leftovers. So, again, Blissey is your prime special sponge, and it can take on weaker hits from weaker physical Pokemon like Defensive Swampert, which isn't necessarily weak, but it can easily take out the hits. Blissey doesn't have access to Toxic right now, unfortunately, but it still does have access to Thunder Wave. So on all Blissey sets, you'll probably always see Seismic Toss and Soft Boiled. Seismic Toss allows you to do 100 damage because it's based on your level, or 50 damage, I guess, if you're playing at level 50. So it's consistent damage for a Pokemon with 10 base attack, and then Soft Boil gives you your reliable recovery, healing half of your health. Now, Thunder Wave is your status move that you have on Blissey. I guess does it still have access to Sing? Maybe it still has access to Sing. I feel like Blissey might still have access to Sing. Now, are you going to use a Blissey with Sing? I would not recommend that. However, if that is what you want to do, I cannot stop you from doing that. But it does still have access to Sing, which is pretty cool. And then Thunder Wave gives you, again, that way of slowing down faster Pokemon. Latios, Alakazam, Gengar, Manaphy. Oh, it is to be noted that if you do go max HP, max special defense, +6 Manaphy's Modest Surf doesn't even to a KO you because of leftover. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so unless I count Scald instead of Surf, forgive me if I'm wrong on that. But your last move is kind of a toss-up of whatever the hell you want. As you can see, I put anything. You got Stealth Rock. Stealth Rock provide, obviously, hazards for your team. Heal Bell provides Heal Bell support for your team, getting rid of the ailments on not only Blissey, but also your teammates. So getting rid of burns, toxic, sleeps, whatever your opponent's status or your mon's status are. Healing Wish is an option if you want to use it on more offensive teams. Like, I like that specifically on Sun teams. I like that on, like, Rain teams as well. And the idea behind that, or just, like, maybe you just don't really need the last move on Blissey and you already have a good Stealth Rocker and you don't really care about Heal Bell. So Healing Wish just gives you a chance to sacrifice yourself and bring back another Pokemon. The reason I like it on Sun teams and Rain teams specifically is because Pokemon like Charizard take solar power damage, so they're killing themselves turn per turn by just being out. And obviously, Pokemon like Kingdra, a Rain Pokemon that's really good on Rain, is decently bulky and has some good resistances, so it's usually worn down by hazards and by weaker priority hits and stuff like that, so this allows you to heal that too. Counter is an option again with Chople Berry. Counter can allow you to take a close combat from Scarf and Fernape. It can allow you to also, if Scizor goes for U-turn, doing 26%. Remember, counter is doing, it returns double the damage of what was done. So based on Blissey's, the damage Blissey took, right? So you are going to be doing a ton to things like that. Counter can also let you take a Mach Punch from Breloom. Just a really cool option for Blissey to just kind of nuke things, especially on those U-turns and stuff like that. Shadow Ball is an option if you want your Blissey to be able to not lose to Gengar. If it's like sub Gengar, sub Nasty Plot, can still be annoying, or sub in general. Even if it's not sub, but you can only Thunder Wave it, right? Otherwise, you can't really do much. Ice Beam is an option for Gliscor, Garchomp, and Dragonite. Flamethrower gives you a cool option versus Skarmory, but specifically Scizor. And then, like I said, you could really run anything as that last move on Blissey if you really, really wanted to. I've seen random Grass Knot sometimes for Swampert because they're pretty weak too. I've seen Light Screen as well to help support the team even more. Protect can be cool for more leftovers recovery. Again, Thunderbolt or Thunder can also be cool too, depending on what you think you're going to be fighting, like a Gyarados check. I've also seen Copycat. I've used Copycat specifically. Copycat lets me copy the opponent, and I've done that for like Calm Mind variants and like Spikes and Stealth Rock and stuff. And then just like I said, there's a plethora of options that you could put there. Gravity is also pretty cool if you want to use a Gravity team specifically. I've seen Psych Up as well, but like not in this particular one. And I've also seen skill swap as a means of dealing with Gliscor that have stayed in. Basically, if Gliscor's in front of you and they're just roosting and trying to stall out your Blissey, the turns of poison still rack up. Gliscor just doesn't take damage because of its toxic heal ability, or poison heal ability. But because if you go for skill swap, it will take basically that turn of poison. So let's say Gliscor's been in versus for you for like 15 turns, it will take the equivalent of 15 turns of poison on itself. So does that work? Does poison cap a thing? I've seen Gliscor die to things like that. I know that Cresselia is also, and also you could use things like Rain Dance and Sunny Day depending on if you're using it on what's it called, on a rain or sun team. So again, Blissey, much like Skarmory, they pair really well together. They pair well with Quagsire, they pair well with Tangrowth, they pair well with Starmie, they pair well with these really defensive builds because they work really well. But Blissey and Skarmory can also work on balanced builds, so more like, or bulky offense builds that like have a lot of power and stuff, but they just want something that could deal with Latios and Manaphy and Alakazam and Gengar, which is kind of honestly fair considering they are giant threats. We do have another set as well on Blissey, and that is the Calm Mind set. Now I'm using Natural Cure. I still like Natural Cure more than Serene Grace, but you could use Serene Grace because it will give you double the chance of Ice Beam freezing and Flamethrower burning. But Natural Cure allows you to not worry about the hazard of status. So burn, freeze, paralysis, poison. When you switch out, come back in, it's gone. Or when you switch out, it's gone. But yeah, it's really cool for Blissey. But I like Calm Mind, Soft Boiled, Ice Beam, and Flamethrower. Ice Beam giving you a means of dealing with Gliscor, Flame, and Latios. Flamethrower giving you a means of dealing with Scizor and Skarm. And this is cool too because this will also beat Calm Mind, Latios 1v1. Because you're boosting your special defense where they're boosting their special attack, so you're doing a lot. Nasty Plot Alakazam won't be able to beat you unless it has Psyshock. It lets you break through just Pokemon that Blissey could otherwise kind of struggle with in the OU tier. And also at +1, you're knocking out things like Garchomp, and it makes Blissey more of an offensive threat, right? Versus those special attackers. So like even like Nasty Plot Togekiss has to be very, very lucky versus you to beat you 1v1, because after a Calm Mind or two, it's not doing enough if it's not with Air Slashes, and it has to boost in order to have that power to beat you. And every single time it boosts, you get a free Calm Mind. But yeah, this could easily be Serene Grace if you really want to. I just like it better with Natural Cure personally. There are a few other options for Blissey that I'm going to just talk about, but I'm not going to give slides for. I've seen Choice Scarf with Copycat. I've used it myself. A lot of other people have used it too. I think Widow Twinino and Envy are two I know, as well as some other people on YouTube. And also on just Showdown in general. But that runs like max speed with a Choice Scarf, and that typically revolves around running like a Final Gambit strategy of Staraptor lead. And you go for Final Gambit, then you bring out Blissey, you Copycat, you go for Final Gambit, and basically the game is 4-4 at that point. I've also seen Specs Blissey, and I've seen Calm Mind 3 attacks, which I don't think is that good. I don't think Specs is that good either. But I have seen Serene Grace Blissey do some things as well. But yeah, overall, fun mon. Not to fight though, but fun mon to use definitely when your opponent is powerless against it. You see a team preview, your opponent has 6 special attackers, and none of them have the means of actually breaking through a Blissey. But yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Normally at the end I do like the teams, what I think work with it, but I kind of just sprinkled that in there throughout the entire thing, so hopefully that's enough for ya. But again, if you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Goodbye. I have not stopped the recording because there it is.